Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the MBS service tutorial. I'm your host, Brother Mongoose, and I think that most of you guys have tuned in because you've uh, come across the YouTube channel and you're interested in getting some information about the services. And there may be some of you guys that have just stumbled across the message or the video or the channel for the first time. So what we're going to be doing today is going over some details about the actual services themselves. If you guys are already familiar with the ministry, you know that this is a holistic mind, body, and spirit ministry. This ministry believes that when we're operating at a premium, whatever that premium level is for us on an individual level, when we're operating on a premium and we're doing something each and every single day that acknowledges, that thanks Him, something specifically that nourishes and strengthens and renews us in our minds, our bodies, and our spirits, then all the answers that we're searching for, all the victory, all the prosperity, all the courage, all the peace, the love, the forgiveness, the increased faith, everything that we're looking for. This ministry believes oftentimes it's impeded as a result of the fact that we're not doing everything that we can do to thank Him for everything that He has given us, which in our very basic and fundamental essence consists of a mind, a body, and a spirit. Housing, clothing, education, food, all these things, are necessities, but just in the most basic forms of what He has given us to attain those things is a mind, a body, and a spirit. And this ministry believes that when we don't do something each and every day specifically to show thanks, to nourish and to strengthen and reset ourselves in those areas, then we do not only Him a disfavor, we do ourselves a huge disfavor, because He's already said that even if the people don't glorify Him, then the rocks will raise up and praise Him. So He's going to get His praise and His glory regardless. So I just wanted to throw that in as we begin to talk about the services. We're going to be talking about the services that are used to achieve this goal of merging, balancing, and synthesizing, properly balancing it all, making sure that we don't fall out of balance when it comes to praying too much, or not too much, but you get the point. Doing what we should do in the area of our spirit man or woman, but neglecting our mental and physical man or woman. Doing everything we can to be physically fit, but neglecting our mental and our spiritual selves. So we're going to be talking about the services that are used to achieve this goal, the services that are provided by this ministry. Again, if you're familiar with the ministry, you know that these services consist of experiential-based, philosophical, consultative services that are designed to nourish and strengthen one's mental self. And of course, there is the ISSA certified fitness training that's designed to nourish and strengthen one's physical self. And then there's the clean-hearted spiritual teachings and practices, which are undoubtedly provided to help strengthen and nourish one's spirit man or woman. The additional services that are provided by this ministry, in which this holistic mind, body, and spirit principle is also applied, consist of good old-fashioned youth and young adult mentoring and counseling, as well as motivational speaking. So we're going to be going over all those things today. We're going to be, again, providing you with some information about these services. That information will come in the form of me giving a brief description of the services themselves. We're going to talk about what the services actually consist of. We're going to talk about who these services are probably going to be best suited for, or the people that may be most attractive to these particular services. And we're going to talk about the benefits. What do you get out of it? How does it help you if you choose to invest in yourself by way of these services. Now, ultimately, I recommend all of these services. That's the whole point of a holistic ministry. That's the whole point of this holistic ministry. However, I do realize that I do live in a real world, and sometimes people are just interested in physical fitness. Some people may just be interested in how do they, clean up and improve, their spiritual selves. Some people may be interested in, improving, strengthening, and refining their mental faculties. So I do get that. And please know that if you choose to move forward with some of these services on an individual service basis, that's certainly an option as well. We'll talk about that a little bit further on. But before I go any further, I do want to talk about the associated cost with these services. It's important that you guys know that the only branch of this ministry where there is a required and a cemented cost for services, that is the physical fitness branch of the ministry. With that, there is a fossilized price range that is required, depending on, of course, what it is that you'd like to purchase and how much of it. As with anything else in the, what we'll say, the buy and sell type of arena. Having said that, guys, all of you guys that contact me via this website, via this YouTube channel, this ministry YouTube channel, and you say, hey, listen, I got word off of the YouTube channel. I'm a follower. I'm a supporter of the ministry. I watch your YouTube videos. Then you're going to get an incredible amount of discounted prices that no one else gets. The people that I meet when I'm advertising, promoting, or just coming across people, in my day-to-day life, promoting my physical fitness training services, they don't get the savings and the offers that you guys will get. So keep that in mind. Now, additionally, guys, it's important that you know that all of the other services that I mentioned, the youth and young adult mentoring and counseling, the clean-hearted spiritual teachings and practices, the philosophical consultative services, the motivational speaking, none of those services have a cost associated with them. Caveat, I do ask for donations, and I ask for donations on a per service request, which is to say that every time or whenever you would ask, for me to provide you with those services, I would ask for a donation. So if it's 3 days a week, 5 days a week, 30 days a month, whatever the case may be, I will ask for a donation. Key word, I will ask for a donation. It's important that you comprehend that no donation is mandatory. There's no minimum requirement. There's no strings attached. So just like when you go to church and they pass around that collection bucket, you have the option to put pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters, dollars in that collection plate, or you can simply pass that collection plate on, not make a donation, and still receive the same exact sermon that everybody else is going to receive. So that's how it works when it comes to all of the other services provided by this ministry. The only one where the price is cemented and fossilized are the services that are related to the physical fitness branch of the ministry. And again, all of you guys that follow and support the ministry, you get incredible discounts on those prices, which, by the way, start with a totally free, zero strings attached initial consultation and evaluation. So no strings attached. You don't have to purchase any other services. You don't have to worry about me calling you or emailing you back or whatever, trying to, market services to you. It's just something that Heavenly Father has caused me to do to inspire you guys to reach out to this ministry, to be a supporter of this ministry, incentivize you guys to do those things, and to also incentivize you guys to prioritize your physical vessel. Because out of all of these services, the one service that's meant for everybody, we're going to talk about who they're meant for. Out of all of them, physical fitness is meant for everybody, regardless of the race, religion, gender, all of that good stuff. So keep that in mind. and we will move forward with getting into the discussion and the information about these services. So again, we have the philosophical consultative services for the mind, the ISSA certified fitness training for the body, the clean-hearted spiritual teachings and practices for the spirit and for the soul, and then we also have the youth and young adult mentoring and counseling, and we have the motivational speaking. We're going to start, guys, by breaking down, if you will, the philosophical consultative services, because this is one that's probably going to take the most amount of time. So let's just get into it without further ado. In terms of, well, let me digress for just a second. Or this actually walks hand in hand, so no need to digress. As it relates to describing, giving a description of the philosophical consultative services, it's important that you know, first of all, and some of you guys may know this, maybe not. Either way, it's important that you know that the word philosophy, that's an ancient word. As you know, it has a prefix and a suffix. We're going to talk about the actual meaning of the word philosophy or philosopher. That's important as we move forward. So there's a prefix and a suffix. The prefix philo means love, and the suffix of the word Sophie or Sophia means wisdom. So philosophy or philosopher is simply the person who loves wisdom, or the person who is operating in the field where there's a love for wisdom. That's a philosopher. Philosophy, again, the field of loving wisdom. Now, it's important that you realize that wisdom, we're not talking about day-to-day knowledge, not day-to-day stuff that comes in a book, that we learn during our upbringing. It's a little bit kind of a different type of wisdom, which I'll talk about here in a minute. But obviously, all wisdom is based on the things that we do pretty much learn in school, the things we figure out on our own, the traditions that were passed on to us, etc., etc. But ultimately, the love of a different kind of wisdom, which in a nutshell would mean maybe the wisdom that's not on display, maybe the wisdom that's not so mainstream, the wisdom that's outside the box, something you got to dig, research for maybe pray about, and be very, very meticulous in your research. So it's that kind of wisdom. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit. So that's what philosophy and a philosopher means. Sometimes we think it's something that it's not, and but anyway, we'll move on. And again, the email link will be in the description, guys, because this is not going to be an all-encompassing breakdown of these services. I'm going to try to be respectful of you guys' time, but I'm also going to try to do my best to give you enough information to say, okay, you got the gist of how it works. And then if you'd like some more specific details, then again, that email link will be down there. So moving on. The type of philosophy that is offered and provided by this ministry is not based on academia, nor is it scholarly based philosophy. The branch, the type of philosophy that's provided by this ministry is experiential based philosophy. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, let's take a look at the philosophy that is mainstream, traditional, academic based philosophy. It's simply, in a nutshell, guys, it simply is sitting around pontificating about the different philosophers, particularly the philosophers that came before this time in this era, but even modern day philosophers as well. It's about the student going through an educational system and becoming familiar with these different philosophers, sitting at their desk, reading, studying the philosophers themselves, the workshops that they held, the poems or the scriptures that they wrote, their ideas about life, just pontificating about all of that, studying that pretty much at a desk, and then developing one's own philosophy about what that person meant when they were saying this, what were they trying to achieve when they were doing that, etc., etc. Now, I have no qualms with traditional philosophy. In fact, I'm a huge fan of it. A lot of my experiential philosophy finds its roots in mainstream academia type of philosophy. But that's not the kind of philosophy that this ministry provides. Experiential philosophy is to say all of those things are included: research, study, analytics, implementation, observation, meditation, pontification, but not just when it comes to the philosophers and what they were philosophizing about, but life all around. Every single thing that one could think, one can encounter, one can imagine. This philosophy dares to explore all of that, putting a premium emphasis on information that's relevant, that's significant, and that's needed. But having said that, again, being willing to pontificate, how did somebody come up with a chair? Who thought that up? And what was they thinking? What's the purpose of a chair? Why do they call it a chair? So anything, and of course, what is this thing we call the Milky Way? What is this thing we call God? Why do I feel this way? Why does that person look at me that way? What's the truth between the connection of spirit and science? Philosophizing about any and every single thing. And again, using the study, the research, the analytics, and all the things that I mentioned, all merged into one's own personal experience, combined with prayer, meditation, and pontification to come up with, well, this is what that means to me. And in philosophy, your philosophy is just as right or just as wrong as mine. Hence, philosophy. It's your take on what's going on. It's your breakdown. It's your love of that wisdom. What that meant to you. You ever heard the old saying, if you read a verse in the Bible, if you read it 10 times, you might get 10 different meanings. If 10 people read it 10 different times, you might get 10,000 different meanings. So it's about pontificating, and your philosophy about this, that, and the other is just as right and just as wrong as mine, and vice versa. So that, in a nutshell, is the experiential-based philosophy that this ministry provides. That's what goes into it: prayer, meditation, research, study, observation, implementation, saying, well, you know what, I read this. It sounds good. It passed the smell test. Let me take it out to the real world to see if it actually works. Let me see how long it works. Let me see if it works under all circumstances or just limited circumstances. Let me get my hands dirty. Let me not just sit at the desk or kneel down in prayer. Nothing wrong with either of those. In fact, I salute and am committed to both of those things. But let me also go out here into the real world and see if this works, not if it works beyond just the laboratory, if you will. So that, in a nutshell, is an explanation of experiential-based philosophy and the description of the type of philosophy / experiential-based philosophy that is provided by this ministry. Okay. Moving on, guys. Now, we're going to get into what this experiential philosophy that's provided by this ministry, what does it consist of? Like, what can you expect? What's the rigors? What's the curriculum? What's the strategies, the tactics, etc.? Let's get into it, guys. The first thing I need to disclose, if you will, before we get into what it consists of, you need to be very mindful of this. I'm not the only experiential-based philosopher out there, guys, not by far. But the way that my philosophy works, again, mine is just as right and just as wrong as the next guy's, and vice versa. So my specific form of experiential-based philosophy, it's like a two-pronged attack. It's multifaceted in terms of what one can expect to get out of it. I'm going to talk about this a little bit first. the two-pronged approach in terms of what one can get out of it and what goes into it before I actually get into what it consists of. Bear with me, guys. So this two-pronged attack, the benefits, the strategies, the goals, the intention of this two-pronged attack. One is to improve one's concentration, one's cognitive performance, to prevent one's cognitive decline, to reverse the onset, or at least the initial onsets of one cognitive declines. We already know that once it's gone too far, it takes Heavenly Father truly to intervene. But one of the goals, this two-pronged, faceted approach and benefits when it comes to the branch or the type of experiential philosophy that I specialize in, is to do all those things, prevent cognitive decline, restore, proper cognition and things of that nature, is to improve memory, concentration, focus, the ability to recall, to enhance one's creative faculties, and be able to do things like stay calm under pressure. And this is achieved, guys, through one achieving, proper brain cell flotation and activation. The circulation in one's brain and the blood flow in one's brain must be operating up to a certain barrier or a certain standard, if you will, in order for the brain to continue to grow, to continue to evolve, to continue to stay strong and healthy. So again, one of the goals is to make sure through this brand of experiential philosophy, is to keep the brain and the synapses of the brain firing on all cylinders to avoid things like Alzheimer's, the onset of Alzheimer's, dementia, and all kinds of cognitive decline. And again, this is done by what we would call brain exercise, just like your body. The older you get, the less you exercise, the more decrepit one's body becomes. The brain is the exact same way, except probably times at least 100, depends on who you ask, or at least 10, depend on who you ask. So we got to keep the brain young, healthy, vibrant, flowing, moving, just like you exercise your body. We're going to talk about some of the things that are some of the strategies that is implemented in order to achieve this goal of preventing the cognitive decline, keeping the brain cells in circulation, and exercising the brain and things of that nature. So that's one aspect and one of the benefits, one of the categories of benefits that comes from the type of experiential-based philosophical consultative services that are provided by this ministry. The second, we talked about a multifaceted benefit and approach. The second benefit and approach, the second goal of these services, as you will, is to improve and increase one's overall understanding of life, of the people around them, the world we live in, and of ourselves. So it's to improve the understanding of oneself. In addition, now it's not like you're going to get one of these benefits from category 2 and miss out on category 1. It does them all, but I'm pointing this out because some people may be interested in these services for option 1, if you will, and others may be more interested in these services for option 2. So the second benefit is to just improve overall understanding, for one to grow in their understanding of life, themselves, this thing that we call God, understanding themselves, their family lineage, the world around them, the world government, acid rain, why dogs bark, why cows, moo, whatever the case may be. And that's maybe a kind of far out, characterization, but hopefully you comprehend where I'm going with this is for wherever a person decide, hey man, I want to grow in knowledge and understanding about some things that's really, really important to me. Some things that, may be the nuts and bolts of how this so-called reality really works. What's this thing that we call God? Why does this irritate me and it doesn't irritate anybody else? How come I don't like that, but everybody else does? How come everybody, whatever? How come I do this? How come I behave a certain way? Whatever. So it's to improve one's understanding. Now, what's the benefit of one improving their understanding? We talked about the benefit of one improving, their memory, their focus, exercising their brain and all this stuff. The benefits of that is to, to prevent or to reverse cognitive decline. So what's the benefit of one having a better understanding in all of these areas and a whole bunch of areas that I didn't mention? It's totally up to the individual. What area of life, of existence, are they interested in gaining a higher understanding of? Well, the benefits is simply in that word, an understanding. That's the benefit in a nutshell. So the benefit is stated in the actual goal itself. The benefit of clarity, the benefit of an understanding of who you are. What's your purpose in life? Why did you not treat that person right? Why did things didn't work out even though everything was set up perfectly on the job? Whatever the case may be. Having an understanding about it all, having clarity about it all, and using that understanding to get direction and purpose in life. So those are the benefits. The good book says, in all things, get an understanding. Understanding gives birth to knowledge. Knowledge gives rise to power. He who knows and understands the world is incredibly empowered. Excuse me, guys. I'm going to say that again. He who grows in and knows, he who grows in understanding and knows and understands the world is incredibly empowered. And he who grows in knowledge and understanding of self is eternally enlightened. So that's the benefit of getting an understanding. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. But let's talk about some of the specific strategies, tactics, and game plans, the protocols, the curriculums that are implemented in order for one to achieve the goals. Now remember, because you benefit from one don't mean you're going to lose out on the other. They both walk hand in hand. Again, it's just that some people may be more inclined for reason number one or the other one for the second reason. So what it consists of in a nutshell, guys, in terms of the implementation and what goes into achieving these goals, there's things like new information. We're talking about keeping the brain synapses firing, young, exercising the mind. Nothing does that like new information, new opportunities, new things to consider. This ministry, after all these decades of having done this, having actually began this path at probably, I'll say I was probably about 23 years of age, and without getting too far off track, because I will address it here in a minute, but having going through so much and not being able to find a solution to what made me tick, why I was misbehaving, getting an understanding of my parents, my sisters, my family, the poverty we were living in, et cetera, et cetera. So it's been over. I'm not going to tell you guys my age. I don't know if you can see all the grays or not. But anyway, in order to get a better understanding of these things, man, I began to realize the importance of taking in new information and the benefits of that working for me, getting an understanding of myself, the world around me, and for me keeping my brain active and growing and things of that nature. So new information is introduced, new information across the board. This information could be regarding or relative to things such as, what is God? As I mentioned, why do I feel this way? Why do people respond to me that way? Why did I spend all this time going to school and getting that education, even though I know that drained my energy and left me unfulfilled? Getting a better understanding, introducing new information, new views, new perspectives. And this information, again, could come in the form of all different types of personal matters, world matters, things about the government, also things like, various word games, various various puzzles, things that this ministry does and have just, kind of learned over the years. Hey, introducing yourself to new people, new environments, just anything that's going to cause you to say, this is interesting. Hey, I never met them. What's your name? I have to remember your name now. Where did we meet? I have to remember that. All across the board, guys, because remember, cognitive decline comes as a result of one not exercising their brain, doing the same thing day in and day out. After you've reached a certain age on this planet, there's essentially nothing new. Maybe a new news story, but it's a new news story about the same type of topic that your brain is familiar with. But essentially, for the most part, not literally, but essentially, there's nothing new. You may go to a different vacation on a different resort, but it's the same vacation. You might move to a different city, a different location, but you're still, in a house with running water or whatever the case may be. So we have to come up with something new, something that causes the mind to say, I need to consider this. Perhaps I need to adjust to this. Perhaps I need to analyze this, think about this, think this through. So all kinds of things, the word game, sometimes just getting in your car, according to this ministry, making sure that you're safe, of course, and just getting in the car, filling your gas tank up, driving, making sure that you're not even paying attention to where you're going. And then, depending on what's appropriate for you, 20 minutes, for some of you guys, it may be 2 hours. And then just deciding, okay, now let me find my way back home. Not with Google Map, not with a map in the car, just following the signs, not with asking nobody, just following the roads. How do I find my way back home? There's all kinds of, hide and go find games this ministry has developed over the years, putting several different objects in several different places in a certain sequence, and then switching the script for myself or, my family, my friends, students, clients, getting off the topic and causing the mind to not focus on what object went where first, what object went where second, where is this object, and where did it go third, fourth, or first in the placement of those items. Just anything brushing your teeth with the opposite hand than you always brush it with. Putting on your pants in a very conscious way. If you pick up on the fact you always use your left leg first, start using your right leg first. Anything that's going to cause your mind to take on something new, consider not something new, engage with something new. Sometimes this ministry recommends all kinds of different language games. We're not necessarily trying to find a new language, but let's sit down, let's press play on the tape, and let's see how many Spanish, Arabic, whatever words that you can comprehend and get and hold the meaning of it, while I then do the same. Word games, let's see who can come up with the most words that start with the letter J. I'm going to come up with 5 or 10 in 15 seconds, then you have to come up with 5 or 10 in 15 seconds. Let's see who can do this the most without using the words that I use. All kinds of different challenges. Putting yourself in challenging environments so you can learn how to adjust, how to feel, how to manage different situations. So it's all about keeping the brain firing. And again, that research that you're introducing that causes you to get your brain synapses firing from a point of, having to consider new research, new investigations, new world discoveries in a whole bunch of different fields across the board, whether it's ancient religions, current events, so-called conspiracy theories, ancient spiritual concepts and cultures, anything that says, I've never heard that before. Wow, let me consider that. Even though, I pretty much don't agree with that, but it is interesting. I haven't heard of it. When you learn the importance of your brain being fired up in exercises by this and tons of other ways that I haven't even began to mention, Then when you know the importance of it, you'll seek to, hey, I'm going to take a different route to work. I'm going to leave early if I have to. I'm going to park in a different place, and I'm going to do my best to not even think about it, because I know when I go outside, my car is right there. But I'm going to do my best to be talking on the phone and just pull up and park somewhere, just challenging yourself, just taking in new information, new perspectives. So you're growing in terms of your understanding, and you're growing in terms of exercising that brain and preventing any onsets or potential onsets or possible onsets of cognitive decline. Now, who is it for? Again, obviously for the people who are interested in these type of subject matters. I mentioned that, or these type of outcomes. Someone who's seeking to prevent or reverse Alzheimer's, dementia, or any cognitive decline. These things are showing up now in people as early as 35 years of age. Back in the day, you had to be 70, 75 years of age. But cognitive decline right now, and a lot of times, I won't get into it, but a lot of times just being on a computer, whether you're playing games, whether you're researching YouTube, whether you at work in your cubicle, just being in front of a computer all day, this is what's one of the main things that's contributing to it as well. Excuse me. Because you're allowing the computer to basically do all the work, and the mind is just kind of sitting there lazy, just absorbing it all. So for anybody who's interested in making sure they stay healthy, cognitively, active and youthful for as long as humanly possible, then that's who it's for. Again, it's also for people who are interested in getting a better understanding of themselves, the world around them, others, things like a better understanding about God, why they behave a certain way, etc., etc. Now, this is also who it's for, because a lot of people use this philosophical consultative services when they're at a crossroads in their life, or if they're at a point where they need to make a major decision. Should I marry this person? Should I divorce this person? Should I keep on with this career? Should I switch different career? Even though they're gonna have to work the same, they're gonna pay the same, but I feel like I might want to just try something new. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Should I switch careers? Should I stay here? Whatever the case may be. They're at a major crossroads, or they're at a point of a major decision that they have to reach, and they want to include and have available to them as much information, options, and things to consider as possible. They want to have everything laid out to the absolute best of their ability. They've talked to their preachers and imams, and they've talked to their parents and their children and their best friends, and they've researched and they've studied, but they still want, hey man, they still haven't been able to put their finger on which way to go. This is when the philosophical point of view, the philosophical perspectives can be very very helpful, because it introduces a different elephant in the room, if you will. Well, have you thought about this? Have you considered that? Have you thought about this? Or have you looked at it from this perspective? And so they want as much information on the table, and they wanted some information that, maybe just what we would consider outside the box before they make that decision. So those are the kind of people that it's for. And we talked about, the benefits of it as well. Having that direction, having that focus, having that understanding, preventing cognitive decline, being able to stay calm under pressure, things of that nature. So now let's move on, if we could, please. That's pretty much going to conclude at least a gist of what the philosophical consultative services, what they look like, the description, what they consist of, who they're for, and what are the benefits of them. So now, let's talk about the body. Let's talk about the body, the mind, body, and spirit ministry. Let's go over the same things as it relates to the services that are designed to help nourish and strengthen, the body. There is, if you're familiar with the channel, or maybe you're not, this ministry provides certified fitness training by way of the International Sports Science Association. This is the the most world-renowned. Obviously, if you ask a different source, you'll come up with a different answer. But chances are they'll be always right there. Number one, definitely, I've never Googled them or researched them and found them to be number three. They are the most world-renowned fitness certification company on the planet. They are also the absolute first one, established in 1940, and they are an accredited certification company or organization. I have just a standard certification. It's a certification that you or anyone else can go and actually even get online. So there's nothing fancy about the certification that I have. Now, they do have advanced learning. So each and every 2 or 3 years, we have to get our certifications renewed. During that time, you can sign up for advanced learning, and you got some trainers out there who have every type of certificate that there is in a book. And I salute that and I celebrate that. So they've taken this standard certification that I have, and each time they've gone back and renewed, and they've increased their learning, if you will, or their study, and got even more certification. Now, I personally, again, I celebrate that, I salute that, and I totally respect that. But that's never been my thing. The reason being, in a very humble way, is because I was doing fitness training way before certifications became mandatory. They've always been in existence, but they weren't mandatory in order for you to train your clients. I was doing unofficial fitness training in about maybe 1976, 1977, unofficially. Officially, during a summer camp, I actually received a check. I also received a free summer camp inclusion. I was able to go to summer camp as a result of me agreeing to be the youth summer camp assistant instructor for the youth. So that was in about around 1979, 1980. So I've been doing this for a long time, and I've always learned from experience. I've always learned from experience, and that's not just, by the way, when it comes to my physical fitness training. It's the things that I'm putting forth when it comes to the philosophy and when it comes to the clean-hearted spiritual teachings and practices. Experience has been my thing, and the abundance, not all of it, but an abundance of my progress has been built on failure rather than success. And so I learned right off the bat when it comes to physical fitness training, hey, listen, this works, that doesn't work. This doesn't look like it worked, but it really, really works. That looks like it's pretty doggone effective, but it doesn't work at all. I learned the hard way. And I'm not the only one that has. So based on having always learned information and gathered it, specifically as we're talking about this physical fitness, I've never felt the need. I've never felt the inclination. I've never had any desire to get advanced learning, because again, while I respect that, while I honor and I salute that, it's just never been my cup of tea. I'm the difference between, and I think I could be honest enough to say this. I'm the difference between you taking your car to get fixed at a nice, glossy, very clean, very modern mechanic shop, and you go in there and they got all the certifications on the wall, they got all the tools, all the gadgets, the lights and the bells, and you feel pretty confident that they're gonna be able to get it done. That's not the guy that I am. I have a basic certification. I'm the guy that you go to that may be up the street in a not so large gym, maybe even in a back alley somewhere that's got a little greasy, what we would call hole in the wall type of location where he fixed cars. But he's been fixing cars since he was 5 years of age. His daddy taught it to him, after his dad taught it to him, after his granddad taught it to him. So that's the difference. This just is what it is. Not saying one's better, not saying it's one worse, but I'm letting you know what you get in when you come to me. I'm going to give it to you based on experience, and I'm going to be able to tell you. I don't have all the answers, but the answers that I do have, they've been tried, tested, proven, and refined over the years. And again, very respectfully speaking, I've never felt the need to take any advanced learning courses when it comes to physical fitness training. I'm always growing, I'm always evolving, I'm always learning, but I'm always getting that pretty much based on experience. I'm doing my research, I'm doing my study, I'm watching the trends and the fads, but I don't get caught up in the trends and the fads. And my research and my study, I take out into the real world and I implement them on myself, and I monitor the results before I introduce it to my clients. So come to me for personal training. I may have you doing something that mainstream says don't ever do it. I may have you doing it every single day. And when you see those results and you see that it's safe and it's result oriented, you'll continue to keep doing it. And I may tell you to never do something that mainstream is telling you to do every single day. But again, when you see the results, you see that it's safe, it's result oriented, you'll continue to do it. So I've just been that guy. I wanted to put that in there, guys. Again, just laying out, a description of the physical fitness branch of the ministry and the physical fitness services for the body. I think that that would be a pretty good description of it. But before I leave and get into what it consists of, I want to say it's important that you guys realize this. When it comes to your body, the ancient mystics, the shamans, the spiritual gurus, the Gnostic teachers, and so forth and so on. The overwhelming majority of them see this vessel, this thing we call a body. They see it, and it's analogous to, it's comparable to what they refer to in different ways, and different terms are used, but essentially it's referred to as what amounts to a biological machine. That's essentially what this body is. When you go back to where you came from, when I go back to where I came from, we take these bodies off. And so understand the importance of this biomechanical machine, this biomechanical suit that you're wearing. Look at it as being the suit that an astronaut would have to put on before he can go out amongst the stars, walk on the moon, whatever. It also could be a suit that's compared to what a deep sea ocean diver has to put on before they go under and explore the ocean environment. They have to put on a suit. We have to put on a suit. This blood, this flesh, this bone, this tissue. This is our suit so that we can experience this environment. Now imagine how things would turn out for that astronaut or that deep sea diver if their suit is impaired, if there's a malfunction, if it's not operating at a premium. Yes, you comprehend. Everything that they see, everything that they encounter is going to be skewed and, quite frankly, potentially life-ending. You can't be underwater and run out of oxygen. You can't be in the air. You can't be in space and all of a sudden there's a hole in your suit. So this is why we have to put a premium emphasis on our bodies, guys. We can't neglect this. I know society tells us that we don't have time for it, but the devil is a lie. Oftentimes it doesn't take nearly as much time as you think it does. So we can't afford to, as my mom, may peace and blessings be upon her, used to always say, you know what? If you ruin your body, then where are you going to live? Because that's where you live, inside your body. So we got to take care of this, guys. Now let me get on and talk about what these but I do want you to keep that important, guys, because again, you can have mental sharpness and spiritual toughness and resilience. But how's it going to benefit you if your body fails and you end up being an astronaut out in space with no suit? You comprehend. So we got to prioritize this, guys. Now let's talk about what this branch of the ministry, what the services actually consist of. First of all, it all begins with an initial consultation and evaluation. For those of you guys, again, as I mentioned at the earlier of the video, you get that totally free with zero strings attached. But that is required for any services can be rendered. I need to be able to assess where you are, your pain threshold, how far you're willing to be pushed, how far you're able to be pushed, what's your limit. If you're interested in a personalized meal plan, I need to go over your food items, things of that nature, how often you're going to be working out in the gym, if there's any illnesses, any injuries, etc., etc. So initial consultation is where it starts as we get into what the services actually consist of. As far as the exercises that my exercise philosophy, if you will, my exercise technique, it basically boils down to good old-fashioned bodybuilding training. Good old-fashioned bodybuilding training and exercises and routines. I'll talk about my own twist and my own philosophy when it comes to how I apply that. But in a nutshell, my technique is based on essentially, not in its entirety, but essentially good old-fashioned bodybuilding moves. The kind of bodybuilding exercises that's been tried, tested, proven, and refined way before I got here. Now, when I say bodybuilding exercises, for those of you who may not be familiar with the precise definition of that term, it's not for bodybuilders. It's for anybody who wants to build their body. Anybody who wants to become stronger, leaner, faster, more powerful, whatever the case is. It's good old-fashioned bodybuilding exercise. I can't tell you how many fads and trends that I've seen come and go over all of these decades where this is the hottest type of exercise. Oh, this will do it for you right here. This looks extremely great. Wow, everybody's doing that. They've all come and gone, and yet good old-fashioned bodybuilding type of exercises have withstood the test of time and continue to put forth result after result after result after results. That is the gift that just keeps right on giving. So that's what's at the core of my bodybuilding technique and strategy. Now, I do add a twist into this based on all the years, humbly speaking. So I've developed my own strategies and how I go about implementing these regular bodybuilding routine. Some of the exercises that are basic bodybuilding exercises, I've altered. I've added something to them. I've taken some of them away, not all of them, but in that quest to say, hey, this works a little better when I do it this way. Hey, you know what? This is not quite as effective when it's done the way that everybody else does it, whatever the case may be. And so not only have I tweaked a lot of the exercises, not all of them, but I've tweaked a lot of them. I'm a stickler when it comes to different things like in-session exercise, muscle confusion. So the way that I put my routines together, and again, I say this very humbly, typically wherever I go, the overwhelming majority, if not all of the people there, again, being very modest but being very truthful, they've never seen the type of bodybuilding exercises that I do them the way that I do them and that I sequence them the way that I do. So it's bodybuilding training, standard bodybuilding moves, but that's not so standard. There's my twist added, my own philosophy about how to go about it. And that comes with sequencing, rest period. The list goes on and on. Too much for me to get into now, but that's why the email link will be linked down in the description. Again, the personalized meal plan, this is what it consists of as well. So again, impossible for me to get into that now because I would need to know more about you, just as I need to know more about the clients that I meet in person. You know, your personalized meal plan is just that. It's your personalized meal plan. It's like your fingerprint. It's yours. A lot of people got fingerprints. Everybody got fingerprints. A lot of them, fingerprints may match pretty much exactly up to yours except for that small little detail. And that, if you watch all the criminal forensic type of shows, that little small little difference is what made the difference. So there are personalized meal plans that I provide. Can't get into that right now. I do also provide to-go routines where I do the initial consultation evaluation, and I give you a routine that you can do that I know is going to be effective based on your initial consultation and evaluation. So that's another thing that's consistent that the services consist of. Services also consist of one-on-one personal training, whether it's in a gym, one of the places that I rent out for myself. I also have clients come in and train with me. So I also go to clients' homes. So there's one-on-one personal training, and there's also small group training, which is usually 6 or fewer people, 2 to 6 people training in a group. And these services are also available online. For some information about how all that works, again, the email link will be down in the description. Who's it for? As I try and speed this up, guys, who's it for? Again, fitness is for everyone. Literally, everyone. It's not like, the clean-hearted spiritual teachings and practices. It's not like the philosophical consultative services, which I believe that they are for everybody as well. But there's no question about the fact that fitness is for everyone. We only get one life and we only get one body. Staying physically fit is the one thing that we can do to help us preserve them both. Your body is your physical fitness. Is not like your shoes. It's not like your money, your house. It's not like any of that. If you lose those things, you can replace them. You mess up your body, again, where you going to live? So it's literally for everyone of all ages and of all fitness levels. Don't let nobody convince you that you're too fat. Don't let nobody convince you that you got too much weight to lose. Don't let nobody convince you that you're too old. Don't let nobody convince you that you're too skinny. Don't let nobody convince you of anything. Fitness is for everybody. I provide fitness that's fun, that's challenging at the same time, and all wrapped up in a package of results. So it's for everybody, guys. Don't let nobody tell you that you're too old. Science is proven that 65, 85, 90-year-old people start picking up 2 1.5 pound dumbbells and just moving. Increases their strength. It increases their flexibility. It increases all of these different things about them. And don't let nobody tell you that your kid is too young. Contact me, guys. I got videotapes of my grandkids and even of my kids. I think I still got some old footage somewhere of my kids when they were 3, 2, 5, 7, 9. By those ages of 5, 7, and 9, I can show you videos right now of my grandkids. 7 years of age, you think he's 25 years of age in terms of how well he know all the different exercises, how fun it is, how willing he is to challenge himself. It's because they got this misnotion that you gotta kids should be 10 years of age. Let me tell you something, man. If you wait to 10 to start your kid to physical fitness, chances are you are so far behind the 8 ball, it's going to be a haul. I do get clients that come in and their kids are 10, 13, 15, and they want to get them up off the couch and off the PlayStation. Well, it's an uphill battle. I like to think that I do a pretty good job of getting them where they're trying to go, but ultimately they come in behind the 8 ball. My kids 3, my grandkids 3. When we're playing and we're jumping up, high-fiving, they think they're having fun. When you're laying down and getting up to see if you can get up fast enough to keep up with Paw and you're learning them sit-ups, you don't know, you just think you're having fun. When you're punching on that Pawpaw's hand and we watching the boxing shows, you just think it's a game. You like punching on Pawpaw's hands. Try to turn them into Pawpaw's mitts and buy you some gloves and a mouthpiece, etc., etc. So by the time when they're 10, it's all just fun. It's all just a part of who they are. So don't let nobody tell you that your kids are too young either. Now the benefits, obviously, it's for anybody who wants to, interested in fat loss, weight loss, improve their strength, improve their power, improve their endurance, their stamina, their flexibility. A lot of people just want a tight tone, particularly you women and young ladies out there, even some of my, what we would call, what they call them, cougars. Even some of my cougar sisters out there, hey, listen, you want to just tighten and tone, you come to the right place. And then for all of you younger guys, or even for you older guys that are into sports and you want some sports specific training, whether it's swimming, whether it's golfing, whether it's football, whether it's boxing, whether it's I don't know if I said basketball, you need to be able to jump higher, you need to be more flexible, you need to be able to sprint faster, whatever the case may be. I do provide sport specific training that's specifically going to cause you as a golfer to be able to improve your swing and increase your drive. So that's what I got for you guys in terms of that. Again, it's all provided under me using various type of training schemes, training strategies, techniques that I've refined over the years. And if you have any questions, give me a call about those. Now let's get into the spirit, the clean-hearted spiritual teachings and practices, guys. It's important that you know, as I get into describing or giving a description of the clean-hearted spiritual teachings and practices, remember, guys, this is not about religion. That's the most upfront description about this branch of the ministry that you need to know. It's not about religion. It is not about religion. It's not about a person's religions. It's about a person's spirit. That's what this ministry is out to provide nourishment for, encouragement for, revitalization, reinvigoration, guidance, stamina, endurance, renewed vigor. If you guys know anything about so again, I just want to be clear. It's not about one's religion. Hey, you could be an atheist, you could be a Muslim, a Christian, a Hinduist. It doesn't matter to me. If you believe that all people should be treated equally, you believe that all life should be expected, all human life, all animal life, all plant life, the life of Mother Earth, then we can have dialogue and discourse. We could sit down and get into some prayer, some worship, some meditation, etc. So it's not about one's religion. It's about one's spirit. Ultimately, when it comes to this walk, you're either a high-quality individual or you're not. Darn your religion, darn your color, darn your ethnicity, political views, and all that. Those are the things that divide us and keep us limited. And this ministry is not limited by those things, nor is this ministry limited by religion. If you're familiar with my testimony, again, as I mentioned earlier on in the video, hey, listen, I started off as a Christian, born into Christianity, Pentecostal faith, and was at church 3, 5, 7 days a week sometimes, choir night, prayer night, study night, Sunday service, day in and day out. When I began to go astray and ran away from home at the tender age of 9, hey man, listen, ever since then I tried to find my way back to this thing that we call God, to this thing that we call the straight path. Took me over 30 something years in the wilderness before I finally got it totally figured out. Always getting a little bit stronger, always getting a little bit more experience, a little bit more information. And that experience and that information was provided in the form of a whole bunch of different experiences, as well as a whole bunch of different religions, including all of the mainstream religions. I don't have to name them. You know what they are. All of them. At some point, I was extremely committed and devout to, including the not so religions, things that we call philosophies like Hinduism and Confucianism, Sufism, all these different things. Research, study, practices, to ultimately getting to the point to where I'm at this place to where, again, we talk about what a philosopher is and what it means to philosophize and pontificate and all this to finally reach, according to his divine time, a place to where it's, hey, listen, all of those different religions are just different branches of the same tree. So now how do we take what works here, discard what doesn't work there? How do we embrace this? How do we merge this? How do we become stronger and ultimately to grow to become the root of that tree and not just its branches. That's what this ministry is all about. Now, what does it entail? Good old-fashioned things like traditional prayer and meditation. Let's talk about pretty much the teachings, because remember, it's clean-hearted teachings and practices. So, under these teachings and practices, we begin with good old-fashioned traditional prayer and meditation. Of course, there's things like fasting. There's also things like mystical teachings and practices. Do your research on the word mystic or mystical. Gets a lot of bad, it's stigmatized in a lot of negative ways, but mystical, it's just those people who are researching the mysteries of life, the things that's not out there. It's a mystery about how this works. It's a mystery about what God truly is. It's a mystery about how your thoughts, your feelings, and your emotions actually affect the physical world that we live in. So mystical teachings and practices, esoteric beliefs, again, do your research on that. Some of you guys may know, some of you guys may not. Esoteric or esotericism is just a study of something that's hid, something that's kept from the mainstream. So if I had a tablecloth on a table, the underneath of the table would be esoteric. It's hidden. The exoteric part of the table would be the visible part. The exoteric part of me would be what you see when you look at me on this camera. The esoteric, the hidden part of me, would be digging past the skin, the flesh, the bone, and getting into the inner me, that which is hidden. So that's all esoteric means. So esoteric and esotericism is used. Good old things like shamanism. Research that, guys. Again, it's just a person who, through what we would call, what the book would tell you, not the good book, but the dictionary would tell you, is people who communicate through this thing that we call God, through an altered state of consciousness. All that saying in a fancy way is someone who can really connect in to this thing through God by all kinds of different paths that lead to that altered state of consciousness. It could be extreme fasting. It could be deep meditation, aromatherapy, etc., etc. So shamanistic practices, Hermeticism, which is pretty much close to the esoteric teachings. Things like laws of attraction is what's implemented. Also things like quantum physics, epigenetics, metaphysics, if I didn't mention that one. So all these things, guys, do your research on these words, these meanings. I'm trying to speed this up now. Metaphysics, epigenetics is, when you're able to change a person's genetic, and the genetics themselves don't change, but the things that they produce actually change. So you may be genetically predisposed to being a certain body composition, but you can change that through epigenetics without actually changing your genetics. So research all these different studies, guys, these different subject matters, or reach out to the ministry. But these are all some of the things that are put forth in order for a person to achieve this higher connection, if you want to call it that, this clearer understanding, if you want to call it that, this evolution, if you want to call it that, of a higher connection with this thing that we call God. So that's kind of touches on some of the practices, as well as some of the teachings, some additional practices with things like constant the constant practice of mindfulness, positive affirmations, breathing exercises, things such as time in nature, self-imposed isolation and solitude, things like water therapy, aromatherapy, massage therapy. A lot of this stuff you got to be careful with, guys, because you don't want to be taking in the wrong type of aromas. Even though they may smell appropriate and sweet to the senses, some aromas out there affect you negatively, and you don't want to have anybody just putting their hands on you. Some people are truly demonically possessed and things of that nature. And again, just like some smells that have you frown up and become tense, some of them relax you in your inner man. but it's a lot to try to squeeze in. But these are some of the strategies and tactics and practices that are used in order for a person, again, to achieve this higher form of awareness on their spiritual selves, or in their spiritual life, guys. Again, things like, that self-imposed isolation and solitude. We talked about the different forms of therapy: water, aroma, and or massage therapy. Getting into your hobbies again, something that breathes passion into you. Spending time in nature. Random acts of kindness, things of like self-love, forgiveness. Call and reach out to this ministry, if you will, so I can give you some more specific information about how this stuff is best used. Obviously, you don't want to be trying to do water therapy and you're just standing there or just sitting there in water and you're not into it. You don't want to be getting a massage, but you're still stressed out about the job and the day before and what's coming up next. Kind of defeats the whole purpose. So a lot of these things need to be implemented in a very specific way. I love the opportunity to go over that with you a little bit more in detail. Let's see. Now, as far as who's it for, obviously somebody that's looking to find balance, somebody that's looking to find clarity, somebody's trying to grow into the evolution of what we call the light. So it's those who are looking to grow and advance their connection with this thing we call God, to grow in their understanding of God in a way that religion just cannot do. Again, religion is just something that should point you the way, like pointing you to Chicago. Okay, once you get to Chicago, then what? So there's more than one route to get to Chicago, but ultimately, when you get to Chicago, then what? So it's for those kind of people. It's for those kind of people who's looking, to find more inner peace, more understanding. For those who are looking to actually become the light. There's a difference between becoming the light and all the different other facets, if you will, of the light. First we, at some point, regardless of how early or how late it was in life, at some point we became aware of the light, that the light was real, that the light exists. We became aware of the light. And then one goes in search of the light. And then one finds the light. They locate it and find it, and they carry that light within them. But there are a few of us, most commonly referred to as 144,000, who go on to complete all those steps, to hear about the light, to go in search of the light, to find the light, to embrace the light, to carry the light, and then to ultimately become the light, to be the walking, living, breathing embodiment and essence of that light. So benefits, obviously, is for increased love, increased peace, increased clarity, power, self-transformation, greater compassion, greater courage, greater tolerance, better fulfillment, and better freedom. Now, let's see if we can get into the youth and young adult mentoring and counseling, guys. The description of this service is just that: to inspire and to encourage, and yet simultaneously warn all youth and all young adults, as well as to hold them accountable from all aspects of life. Why aren't you respecting your parents? Why aren't you giving it 100% on a job? Why aren't you really pursuing that career? Why are you wasting time on that dead-end relationship, whatever the case may be? To inspire, to encourage, to warn them about the consequences of them not giving it their all, about not being a respectful, high-quality human being, things of this nature. And again, to encourage, to inspire, to motivate, to inform, and to warn on all different levels. This is the gist of what's at the heart of this youth and young adult mentoring program. I do design specific curriculums and protocols based on the individuals, what they're going through, what they're faced with. Some of you guys may be out there sailing along, and you want to make sure you continue to sail along, because if you decide that you're going to start doing drugs, if you're going to start slacking off on the job, if you're going to let that person take you down a dark street in terms of a relationship, you're going to succumb to arrogance or whatever the case may be, there is a certain something that's waiting on you on that road, and what it is not pleasant. And I am speaking from experience. So what it consists of is, again, as I mentioned, the inspiration and the warning. Hey, listen, if you're doing the right thing, keep doing the right thing, because if you slip up, again, as I just mentioned a little bit of my story, I started off on a good path. Me and my all my siblings, we were in the poverty, but the poverty wasn't in us. We played all the sports, the summer leagues, the school leagues, from the earliest ages that I can remember. Again, we was in church all the time, when no drugs brought around us, and yet I got into all of that. So if you're on the right path, stay on the right path. And if you're on the wrong path, you can get off the wrong path. You don't have to stay there. I don't care how long it's taken. You just heard something about my story. I don't care how long it's taken, how long you've been traveling, how many times you let yourself down, let others down. It doesn't matter. If you keep going, he won't leave you. You just got to keep going. I use my life experiences, share some real heart wrenching, sad stories to encourage, to inspire, and motivate, depending on what end of the pendulum one is operating from. And I also use my stories of success, having gone on to become an all-natural professional bodybuilder, to get out of the gangs, to, him cleaning me up from my inner man to my outer man, starting this ministry, the strategies, the tactics, and the perseverance that was needed along the way. I share all of this with the youth and young adult. And again, as I mentioned, I come up with personalized curriculum, personalized goal plans. And hey, listen, what is it that you would like to do if you knew you couldn't fail? Okay, now, together, let's sit down and let's see what we can do to start putting the right steps into action, making the phone calls, putting the hours in on the clock, investigating the material, traveling, whatever's necessary, a personalized curriculum for you to become whatever it is that you want to become. If it's in your heart for you to become it, then, and you love doing it, there's a way that you can become it, and you can do it and get paid very handsomely for getting it done. If you build it, they will come. Doesn't matter if no one else is doing it. Maybe your specific purpose in life to build that, to create that, and get her done. So that's the gist of the youth and young adult mentoring and counseling in a nutshell. The motivational speaking, guys, it kind of speaks for itself. I do speak with clients and get some information about, again, what they may be going through, what they may be challenged with, what they may be aspiring to, and either and write down or quote to them very specific sayings and very specific reading material that addresses that. So if they're aspiring to become an engineer, if they're aspiring to become a sports player, if they're just trying to get off drugs, if they're trying to be more parenthetical, as a whole, whatever the case may be, what is it that you're trying to get? And I cater the motivational speaking to that. So when they get those words, they know it's meant for them. It's not as broad. I do the broad stuff, but I do something specifically for the individual who's telling me, hey, listen, this is what they're struggling with. This is what they're aspiring to, whatever the case may be. And the motivational speaking is catered to deliver messages that resonate with specifically what it is that they've stated they're interested in, what they're going through, what they'd like to accomplish, or what have you. Now, that's going to conclude the tutorial, guys. Again, it was not all encompassing. Lots of details left to still be going over, but I do think that should do at least a somewhat good enough job to give you guys some idea of what you can expect, what they consist of, what the benefits of. Again, the motivational speaking itself, you just keep going. As long as you're motivated, you're going to keep going. But it's important that you guys see the connection between all of these services. See the symbiotic relationship between them all, the mind, the body, and the spirit. They work together. They work together. You'll find that if you're getting an A+ in your mentality, and you're getting a C in your physicality and a D in your spirituality, what you realize, put in the work, contact this ministry, and then once you bring that C up in your physical, and then once you bring that D or that F up in your spirit, man, that A+ is going to go to a triple A+. So however well you're doing in one of these areas, if you're not prioritizing the other area, then you're not at your best. You just think you are. You just think you are. If you're the top salesman in 20 states, but you haven't prioritized your physical man or woman or your spiritual man or woman, you just focus on your mental man or woman in terms of getting the job done in the arena of what's required mentally, then when you add into prioritizing your spirit man or woman and your physical man or woman, then you're going to go from being the top salesman in 20 states to 40 or 50 states. That's what this whole movement is all about getting us to realize that we hit our peak, we hit our premium when we prioritize our minds, our bodies, and our spirits. All the love, all the courage, all the prosperity, all the answers, all the things we need to forgive and let go, to find a better way, to be compassionate, to build a better world, to be more loving, to be more fulfilled, to be more courageous, to be more humble. All of these things, or at least the enhancement of those things. Sometimes we don't have these things present on any level in some areas of our lives. So the actual answers themselves and or the advancement, the increasement, the clarity of those answers is found when we unite mind, body, and spirit. And that is the call and the anointing on this ministry. So if I can be of service to you, definitely reach out. I do appreciate your time. Please get back to this ministry if any or all of these services and the information was beneficial to you. And if you'd like to schedule your initial consultation and evaluation in any or all of these service areas, hit that email link down in the description. Same thing goes if you have questions about this type of, about the subjects, the services, whatever the case may be, hit that same email link down in the description. Please visit the physical fitness branch of the ministry located at MountFitnessMBS.com, and please give back to this ministry. Become a part of this movement. This is a revolution, man. This is a revolution, and you are being presented with the opportunity to join or to, at very minimum, support on a grassroots level a revolution, a new revolution that says we're tired of being held back by our own mistakes. We're tired of being held back by, the high gas prices, the high food prices. We're tired of being held back, by people making us feel good, making us feel bad because we're not a part of the madness. We haven't sold or surrendered our souls. We're done with all of that. We're done with still voting every year and realizing that it just gets worse each and every 4 years anyway. Yes, we're going to continue to we're going to continue to do what we need to do to be successful and prosperous in this city, but we're turning to a mind and body and spirit approach to, at the same time, be led out by the Holy Spirit and by the utilization of mind, body, and spirit to something that vastly exceeds this fallen society, this fallen collective humanity, if you want to call it that. These fallen notions, these fallen ideas and perspectives and different forms of government that have all failed us, failed our grandparents and their grandparents. We see the road is carrying. It's plotting for our children and their children. We're finished with that. We're rising above it. We're taking a bold step in faith, just like the children of Israel. We don't know exactly where it's going to end up, but we know where we're going to end up. If we stay here with Pharaoh, we're done with Pharaoh. We're out of here. We'll take our chances on faith out here in the desert, and we believe that when we put our minds, our bodies, and our spirit together, merged, balanced, and synthesized, this is when we honor him the most, and this is when he shows out for us the most. So that's what I got for you guys. I believe I mentioned the physical fitness branch of the ministry at mountfitnessmbs.com. Please support this ministry with your like, your shares, all that type of good stuff. If you'd like some more information about me personally as a minister, please watch a video that's titled My Testimony and Disclosure. And if the Holy Spirit moves you to give back to this ministry by way of a financial donation, please remember that no amount is too small. I'm going to leave a Cash App link down in the description for that. Thank you for your time, your love, your attention, and support. I'm going to get out of here, but as always, I can encourage you guys to embrace this new MBS, Mind, Body, and Spirit Revolution, and to live a life that prioritizes faith over fear, truth over tradition, knowledge over nonsense, love over lust, and people over profit. That's what I got for y'all. I love y'all. I'll see you guys in the next one. I am Brother Minister Mongoose, and I will holler back. Peace.